So K-A0S is finally here, and I've got to say she is a whole lot of fun and is genuinely a solid hunter to play even in very competitive ranked matches, but she is a little bit unique to play and therefore can take a little bit of getting used to. And so today I wanted to go over some basic tips and tricks for playing as K-A0S. Now I did just want to give you guys a quick heads up about two specific things before we get into the video. Firstly, hopefully in season 3 I'm going to be starting a top 5 play series here on the channel focused on Star Wars hunters. So there is a submission link in the description of all of my videos. If you guys get any awesome clips in Star Wars hunters, be sure to submit those clips to that link so that we can start that series moving forward. And then secondly, I did also want to let you guys know within the next week or so I'm actually going to be pretty much switching the content here on the channel to Star Wars Outlaws content, which I know some of you guys may want me to continue covering Star Wars hunters, and don't worry, once the Outlaws sort of hype has died down a little bit after launch, I will be coming straight back to hunters. I'm not going anywhere, so don't worry about that. But obviously Outlaws is a pretty massive game for Star Wars, and so I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be covering Outlaws on the channel moving forward for the next probably 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm sure that's something that some of you guys may not want to hear, but like I said, don't worry, I will be back once I'm finished with Outlaws. Now anyway, getting into the video, like I said, we're going to quickly run through some sort of basic tips and tricks for K-A0S. I will be doing full-on hunter guides in season 3 and beyond, and so this is just kind of a basic one, but like I said, there will be full-on guides with all the stats and everything coming in season 3. Now the first tip that I wanted to give when it comes to playing as K-A0S is that she has a really good ability to kind of make up a bit of ground on enemies, because obviously primarily she is a melee focused hunter. She's pretty similar to Groz in that she obviously, you know, hits enemies with those shields, but the good thing is that if enemies are sort of outrunning you, you can just switch to the alternate mode where you pull out your shield and your blaster, and you do then gain that little bit of extra range. So if you get an enemy really low on health and they kind of run away from you, if you're playing as Groz, obviously you kind of can't catch up to them most of the time, but with K-A0S you just need to make sure you pull out that pistol, and you should most of the time be able to finish off that enemy with that little bit of extra range. Now with that being said, don't forget about her regular melee attacks. I sort of run into the issue of just treating her like she was a blaster hunter, and that is definitely not the case. She is primarily a melee hunter similar to Groz, like I mentioned, and you don't want to be forgetting about that. It does feel nice to use that blaster and it is very useful, but she deals some pretty solid damage with those shields as well, so do not forget about that. I've seen a lot of people that pretty much don't do anything if they aren't shooting, and like I said, when I was first playing as her, I kind of just defaulted to that as well, so do not forget about just the regular attack. It is actually pretty damn viable. Now sort of in line with that, in terms of those sort of melee encounters, both of her abilities, both the backhand ability and then the sort of charge that she does and knocks enemies up into the air, both of those have got really fast recharge times, so you definitely want to be making the most of that. With a lot of other hunters in the game, obviously you kind of use an ability and then you just know that for the next 10, maybe even 20 seconds, you can't use that ability again. And so subconsciously you kind of use it and then you just know that you can't for quite some time. Now with these abilities for K-A0S, it's almost pretty similar to Sentinel with his knockback ability, where you can just kind of spam that thing, and it is very similar here as well. So make the most of her abilities. They have a very fast recharge rate, and that can kind of take you to the next level. If you're forgetting about using them, you are definitely missing out on some of her biggest strengths when it comes to her overall playstyle. Now, before we go any further, if you guys are new to the channel and you are interested in more Star Wars Hunters content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is plenty more content on the way, so make sure you don't miss out. Now, in terms of K-A0S's overall playstyle, I would say realistically she is probably one of the most point dominant hunters in the entire game. What I mean by that is that she has an awesome ability to just kind of sit on an objective and oftentimes just defend it from like half the enemy team, if not, you know, sometimes 3 or more enemies. There's been some games where I will just sit on the B flag, and unless the enemy team is, you know, coming in all at once and they're sort of teaming up on me, then I can almost handle all of them on their own, and it makes her very point dominant. That means that the rest of your teammates can kind of go out and do their own thing, get a few kills, take the other objectives and stuff, and you can just sit there on the B flag and pretty much hold it down on your own. So that is probably how I would define her playstyle, is just overall point dominant. The amount of health that she has, the solid damage she deals, the ability to pop that shield and then pull out the blaster, as well as especially that backhand ability to kind of knock enemies off that objective. She is just perfectly designed to pretty much just sit on objectives and keep the enemy team from taking them. I've even found a few times where using that backhand ability to knock enemies away, if we're both contesting a flag, let's just say we're both going for the B flag at the start of a game, if it's pretty evenly contested, I can actually knock them off, at which point I start to slowly capture that objective, and even once they get back onto it, by the time that ability is recharged, I can knock them back again and slowly but surely just kind of take a little bit of that objective piece by piece by continuously knocking them off. And then even though neither of us have really killed each other or anything, and we're both contesting pretty much the whole time, you can still manage to take those objectives. That backhand ability is probably one of the best abilities in the game when it comes to helping on objectives, because it just knocks the enemies back so much. I feel like it knocks them back a hell of a lot more than Sentinels. And so yeah, make the most of that. Like I said, you can have a pretty evenly contested match where you might be facing a Sentinel or a Char or something, and both of you can be doing a really good job on that objective, but you can ultimately win just by continuously knocking them off and capturing maybe a quarter of that objective at a time. Now, something else I would say is to try not to kind of default to using the blasters. As I mentioned before, a lot of people do forget to actually use her regular attack, and not only does that mean you're missing out on one element of her gameplay, but the other side of it too is that once your shield is gone, you obviously can't shoot, and therefore you have absolutely no range, and you also have no shield because, like I said, the shield is gone. So if you constantly just always use the shield, it will be drained, and then when you actually need it, you're not going to be able to use it. You'll have no range, you'll have low health, and that is pretty much a guaranteed death in that case, at least against most ranged hunters anyway. If you're fighting someone like an Amara Vex, or realistically just any of them with a blaster, if they take your shield, you are pretty much all but done. So it is a good tip to try not to use the shield all the time. Try and maybe get in there with that charge ability, try and deal a bit of melee damage to them first, and then once you're kind of getting to like half health, then pop the shield. Then you get a big advantage over those enemies. They're already kind of half health, and then you do get a bit of range, so even if they try to run away, you're still sort of in the driver's seat. So try not to go into every single battle with those shields equipped. Sometimes they are actually better used as a bit of a fallback option rather than your first choice. Overall though, K-A0S is definitely a very objective focused hunter. Realistically, if you do what I said before and just kind of make sure you're sitting on objectives, trying to play that objective and hold it down for both you and your teammates, then you will most likely do very well with her. She does take a bit of time to get used to, like I said. So if you're feeling a bit discouraged early on, if you have a few bad games with her, don't think that she sucks. She is genuinely good. I wouldn't quite say she's in the meta just yet. It's a little bit too early to tell, but she is genuinely viable. If she's someone that you enjoy playing, you are going to be able to play as her in ranked and do very well. So stick with her, get the hang of her, and just make sure that you are playing the objective. And after, a couple of days of playtime, you guys will no doubt be doing a hell of a lot better and helping your team get a hell of a lot of wins. But that is it for this one, guys. I'm keen to hear all of your own tips and tricks down in the comments as well, so be sure to leave all of those down below. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.